unit vectors and breaking down a vector into its components. Today, after finishing in the previous lectures the addition and subtraction of vectors, we're going to start by addressing, okay, how do we multiply vectors by one another? So, yeah. First thing first, is everyone clear about unit vectors and resolving vectors into components?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no. Share my screen. Okay. All right. So today we're going to be speaking about the multiplication and division of vectors. At the end of the previous lecture, we spoke about unit vectors I, j, and k. Why are they important? How do we use them, etc. Now, I have a couple of stupid questions, but bear with me. What is the angle between I and j?
90 degrees.
Okay, good. What about j and k?
90.
Okay. And k and I, or I and k?
Also 90 degrees.
Okay. So we're happy that they're 90 degrees, even though in the photo they appear less than 90 because of 3D to 2D effects. صح?
Yes.
Okay. What about the angle between I and I itself?
0.
0.
And J itself?
0.
0. 0.
K and K itself is also 0.
Also.
Now, you might start asking, okay, why ليش الدكتور بادي يسأل أسئلة شوية عبيطة? Why is he asking what is the angle between something and itself? Of course, it's 0. It will become clear in a minute when we actually have to use the fact that the angle between something and itself is actually 0 degrees. So we come to multiplying vectors. Turns out multiplying vectors is actually a two-part process or a two-type process, which is weird because usually when we multiply numbers, we don't have that issue. When we're multiplying numbers, we simply multiply the two numbers. 2 times 3, 3. 3 times 2. 2 times 3, 6. 3 times 2, 6. 5 times 10, 50. We never think about it. But turns out when multiplying vectors, there's actually a difference. We have two types of multiplying vectors. We have something called the scalar product, or more commonly known as the dot product. And that is because we denote it using a dot. And then we have what we call the vector product, or the cross product, and we denote it using the familiar cross for multiplication. Now, the reason the dot product is called dot product and scalar product is because when you multiply two vectors using the dot product, well, one reason is it has a dot, your answer is actually a scalar, just a number, no longer a vector. But if you multiply the same two vectors using the cross product, called cross because of the cross, your result is actually
Vector.
another vector.
Okay.
Okay. Now, of the two, scalar product or dot product is the simpler one. So we will start by doing that, then we'll move on to the vector product. Okay. We have two vectors, A and B. First thing first, I would write them in their component form. AX, AY, AZ, BX, BY, BZ. Now we have a definition. This definition comes from geometry and mathematics, so I will not go into the details of where does this come from. It's actually called an inner product of a Euclidean space, but I'll not go into those details. But the definition is A dot B equals AB cosine theta. So write that down on a piece of paper. Okay, or if you're taking notes, put it in your notes because we're going to be using this definition now. A dot B equals AB cosine theta. What is A dot B? A is a vector and B is a vector. So the dot product of these two vectors is equal to the magnitude of vector A multiplied by the magnitude of the vector B multiplied by cosine theta, the angle between these two vectors. And it's a number because A is a number, B is a number, cosine theta is a number, so it's just a number. Let's write it out in long form. Nope. Okay, let's write it out. So A dot B equals, I'll write the vector A dot vector B. What do I do with it now? Any idea?
We multiply AX with BX.
Excellent. It's
And
just
And-
like,
and PZ.
yep, exactly. It's just like when we do A plus B multiplied by D plus E. We expand. So let's do that. AX, BX, I plus AX, BY, IJ plus AX, BZ, IK plus plus AY, 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 AZ, 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 BX, BY, BZ, BX, BY, BZ. Okay, good. Then we have JI, JJ, JK, help me out, KI, KJ, KK. صحيح?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, doctor.
What does this II mean? This II is actually I dot I. صحيح? The vectors.
Yes.
And what was the definition of A dot B?
cosine theta.
No.
It was the magnitude of the first, magnitude of the second, cosine of the angle, right?
Right.
Okay, what is the magnitude of I as a unit vector?
One.
Yep, from the previous lecture, the magnitude is 1. This is also 1. And
Also
what is
one.
the angle between I and itself?
0.
0. And cosine 0 is equal to?
1.
1.
So I dot I is equal to 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1. Okay, what about I dot j?
90.
90
So it will be
degree.
1 times 1 times cosine 90,
It's come 0.
and cosine 90 is 0, so it becomes 0. What about ik?
Also 0.
Also 0. So
Also
that
0.
enables us to make it simpler, because anywhere where we have two same letters, I dot I, j dot j, k dot k, it becomes just 1. And anywhere where we have different letters, it becomes
0.
0.
0.
So this becomes 0, this becomes 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. صحيح? This is 1, 1, 1. Good. So my final result is simply this.
3.
Okay. My final result is ax bx plus ay by plus az bz. Just 3 numbers adding up. صح?
Yes.
نعم. Yep.
Okay. Let's do it with colors. ax bx, ay by, az bz. So, just like in normal multiplication, because the result of a dot b is just the simple addition of 3 numbers, a dot b is equal to b dot a. It doesn't make a difference. Because a dot b gives me ax bx, ay by, az bz. What if I did b dot a? What will I get?
BX,
The same.
AX.
Yeah. So I'll get bxax, byay, bzaz. But since these are only numbers, it doesn't matter if I do 2 times 3 or 3 times 2. Sahih? This is just a number. This is just a number. So if this is 2 and this is 3, it doesn't matter if I do 2 times 3 or 3 times 2. النتيجة تظلها 6. So a dot b is equal to b dot a. So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
now quite a few of you said they were confused in the survey by sample problem 3.05. So let us do sample problem 3.05. What is the angle theta between A equals 3i minus 4j and B equals minus 2i plus 3k? How can we find the angle between two vectors?
First, we find the magnitude,
Okay.
and the second, find the A and B,
Mm-hmm.
and cosine theta, inverse of the cosine.
Excellent. So we have our rule, A dot B equals magnitude A, magnitude B, cosine theta. Now we have A, we have B, so we can find A dot B using that, AX, BX thingy. We can find magnitude of A, magnitude of B, and then we can rearrange this to give us theta is equal to cosine inverse of A dot B over mod A mod B. صحيح?
نعم.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Can someone help me out by telling me what is the magnitude of A?
the square root of 3 square plus 4 minus 4 square.
Okay. So minus 4 squared is 16 and 3 squared is 9. 16 plus 9 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5.
5.
5.
And can someone do the same thing and give me the modulus of b?
3.6.
Give me one more decimal point.
0.
0 or 1?
0, 5.
0, 5. 0, 5, so 3.61. Sahih?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now let's do A dot B. A dot B equals 3i minus 4j dot minus 2i plus 3k. Can someone help me do this? What is the result of this? What do we do?
3i.
We do 3 into minus 2 I dot I. بعدين
3 multiply 3 ik.
okay,
Plus
and we know ik is what?
ik
0.
0.
0. هل اكتبها ولا بما انه 0 خلاص اطنشها؟
نكتبها.
طنشها. ما نكتبها.
ما يحتاج اكتبها بما انها 0 0 يعني بطش ليش اتعب نفسي؟ ik is 0 طاف. اللي بعده
3i.
There is 0.
ji
كلهم طاف كلهم 0.
بعد 0 jk بعد 0. طبعا هذا سبيشال كيس انه كلهم 0 الا واحد ولا في كثير من الاحيان في اشياء اللي هي ما 0. طيب معناته بما انه الباقي كله 0 i و i1 معناته نتيجه a دوت b صارت minus 6. يلا تو نجي على ثيتا. كوساين انفرس مال minus 6 تقسيم 5 ضرب 3.61 and this should give you around 109.4 degrees. صحيح؟
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So this tells us that on an xy plane from the positive x-axis, my vector should be something around like this. Let's see if that is true. I will do it in components. Okay. The distance between my it tells me that the distance between my two vectors is 109.4 degrees. Let's see if that is true. My vector A is 3 in the I direction and then minus 4 in the J direction. So 3 minus 4. So it will be this. This will be A. And then vector B is minus 2I plus 3K. So it will be somewhere here and then coming out of the page. I cannot draw it. I can't draw 3D. Yeah. So you have one in the XY plane and then another one in the XZ plane like this. And the angle between them is 109.4 degrees. It's not drawn, at least not by me.
Do you replay again, please?
So my first vector is 3i minus 4j. So if I am in an xy plane, it will be 3 in this direction and minus 4 in this direction. So this is my first vector. Now my second vector is minus 2i. So it will be in the opposite direction in the I axis. But it is in the k plane, not the j plane. The k axis is what? Is in the z axis, صح?
Yes.
So it will be like this.
Yes.
So it will be something like this. But I cannot draw it. I'm not good at drawing. I can draw XY, anything in the same plane XY I can draw. But then when I bring in the third axis, I don't know how to draw in 3D. وضحت فكرة السكيلر vector? Scalar product?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to the vector product, which is the more complicated of the two vector products. Now, the vector product, we said, gives us another vector, and this third vector is given by AB sine theta. So the dot product was AB cosine theta. The vector product is AB sine theta. Which theta do we take? We take the theta that is the smaller one between A and B. So whenever we have two vectors, we look at the smaller angle between them and put it in that equation.
Mister, would you please repeat what's the difference between this rule and the previous one? I'm not a bit confused.
So A dot B was AB cosine theta, and the result was a scalar, just a number. A cross B is AB sine theta, and your result is actually a vector. And I'll show you how. It's done in a different way. Aywa?
The first one, we take the angle between the scalars, the vectors?
No, the angle between the two vectors.
Okay.
So here, look, we look at the angle between the two vectors.
Doctor,
Okay, thank you.
here we can choose 3 angle.
What do you mean 3 angle?
The 360 minus angle.
No, choose the smaller one. It needs to
Also-
be the angle between the two.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Aywa?
in AB cosine theta, that is the magnitude of the scalar, right? A is the magnitude of the first vector and B is the magnitude of the second vector.
Yep.
Okay.
Just like we did it in the sample problem now. Okay. So how do we go about doing A and B, A cross B? So first thing first, we said the result of A cross B is a vector, right?
Yes.
Right.
But it's not any vector. This vector has a rule, and this is mathematically proven that anytime we do A cross B, we get fixed results. How is that? The direction of the resulting vector of A cross B is at 90 degrees. It's perpendicular to both A and to B. So let's do a sample problem, and Elmo is going to help us. So we have vector A, and we have vector B. They are in the XY plane, like this. Okay. Now the rule we said, the resulting vector needs to be perpendicular to both A and to B. So in which direction will vector C be?
Up or down?
It can be up or it can be down. Sahih?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a problem. How do we choose? Up or down?
Hand rule.
By hand
We
rule.
use something called the
Right-handed.
right hand rule. Okay. Now, turns out that while A plus B equals B plus A, and A dot B equals B dot A cross B is not equal to B cross A. Okay. It's actually in the opposite direction. So if I do A cross B, and then I do B cross A, my vector will be flipped. So when I'm looking at this, okay, if A cross B gives me up, B cross A will give me down. If A cross B gave me down, B cross A will give me up. So how do we decide which is up, which is down? Now your book does this. Okay, something, something, something. I don't know how to do this really. I've never understood how to do, and it's very confusing to me. So I will teach you the way that was taught to me and the way that I have been doing it using many, many years now. Okay. When you're playing with your little brother or little sister or something, وتريدوا تهددوهم بشيء. You're like, okay, أنا بعد من 1 إلى 3 وإذا ما سويت, something will happen. How do you count? You use your fingers.
Slow motion.
Okay. You do it in slow motion, very slow motion, and you're hoping to God inside you that they will do what you ask them to do. Otherwise, you will reach a 3 and you will look like an idiot. Okay. But aside from that, what finger do you use first to count?
السبابة.
السبابة صح؟
صح.
You never go 1, 2. You always go 1, 2, وبعدين you're really hoping they're gonna do it before you need to reach 3.
2 ونص.
انزين بعدين تسوي 2 وربع 2 ونص 2 و3/4. انزين. So we are going to use with vectors نفس الأسلوب اللي نستخدمه مع الأطفال. 1 2 وبعدين يا طبعا. Okay, I'll do it again and then I'll explain. 1 2, the result is either good or bad. And I'll explain what do I mean by this. So you have 2 vectors, A cross B. Okay, it might not be A cross B, it might be any other letter, but my point is when we write it in a specific order. صح? C cross D, X cross F, B cross A, whatever. The first letter goes along the first finger. The second letter goes along the second finger. Okay. ما جالس أسيبكم. زين. And the result goes along the thumb. So, for example, A cross B, this is A, this is the direction of A, this is the direction of B, and my C is in which direction now? The resulting vector.
Up.
Good.
Up.
Up. It's good. What if I try to do B cross A? What do I change?
Make it downwards.
الحين ال B needs to be in the, بما انه انا جالس اسوي B cross A وليس A cross B، ال B لازم يروح في رقم 1 صح؟
صح.
So B cross A and my thumb goes downwards. So the direction of my C vector is below. Now this needs practice. There's no other way but to do it but practice, and there will be problems where you end up doing all sorts of, jumbas or bahlawaniyat to try and getting your fingers along the correct way, okay, to go with the directions of the vectors, but there is no other way to do it, okay, except mathematically, that is. Graphically, this is the only way to do it. Mathematically, we will do it now. Now, mathematically, your book gives you a bunch of rules. Okay, it tells you that ij is k, ji is minus k, blah blah blah, and you have a list of 6, 7, 8 rules. Who here hates memorizing rules?
We all do.
Me. Okay. أنا شخصيا I hate memorizing rules إلى النخاع. Okay, I hate memorizing rules. I cannot. Not only do I hate it, I am physically unable to memorize rules. Okay, I keep forgetting. So I will teach you a way where you only need to remember one thing, and actually you don't even need to remember this because you already know it from الروضة والتمهيدي. You know, كلنا نعرف ABCD. So we have three vectors I, J, K, صح؟ بالترتيب الأبجدي. I بعدين J بعدين K. We write them down. اللي عنده ورقة وقلم يكتب معي. I, J, K. مرة ثانية. I, J, K. مرة ثالثة. I, J, K. 3 مرات. هذه ما واضحة بعدلها. كتبتوها؟
Yes,
Yes,
دكتور.
دكتور.
انزين. هنا القانون. Going this way is plus. Going this way is minus. So, what is I cross J?
Plus K.
Plus K. What is J cross K?
Plus I.
Plus I.
Plus I.
What is K cross I?
Plus J.
Plus J.
Plus
Plus
J.
J.
خلينا نروح ريوس. What is طبعا الحين مرة ثانية إذا جينا هنا مرة ثانية نرجع ل I cross J اللي هو already نحن سويناه في البداية. طيب خلينا نرجع ريوس. What is K cross J?
Minus I.
Minus I.
Minus I. J cross I? Minus K.
Minus
K.
I cross K?
Minus J.
Minus J.
Minus J.
وبعدين مرة ثانية نرجع K cross J اللي هو بدينا منه.
minus I.
فبدال ما نجي نحفظ شيء we just write them I J K I J K I J K ونشوف رايحين بهذا الصوت plus رايحين بهذا الصوت minus. No need to memorize any rules whatsoever. Good?
Yes, دكتور.
Let me see. Now, what is A cross B? A dot B, شفنا. It was AX BX, AY BY, AZ BZ واجمعهم والدنيا فلة. What is the vector product? A cross B. Turns out, this is A cross B. And that is not nice, and you do not want to memorize this. Or maybe you want to, but I, for one, can never memorize this. So what do we do? How do we make this easier to remember?
مصفوف.
Well, there's actually an easy way to do it.
مصفوفات.
مصفوفات. You draw a 3x3 matrix and you put it there. I, J, K, AX, AY, AZ, BX, BY, BZ. Nice and simple. متابعين معاي؟
نعم.
Yes.
Now, since this is a vector in 3 dimension, والنتيجة أيضا vector, راح يكون في I component و J component و K component، صحيح؟
صحيح.
الحين ممكن أنه الكوفيشنت مال الكومبوننت يكون 0، يعني ممكن مثلا يكون 0 I، بالتالي يكون فقط J و K، لكن بالتالي ال I موجود، لكن الكومبوننت ماله هو اللي 0. So, how do we do it? We write it down and we نشخط عليهم. أول شيء ايش اي كومبوننت نريد نطلع؟ الاي كومبوننت، صحيح؟
Yes.
خلينا نخبي الاي كومبوننت، خبوه. يبقى عندنا 4. خبينا العنوان اي جي كي وخبينا السطر مال الاي اللي فيه الاي اكس والبي اكس. يبقى لنا 4 اشياء. تتذكروا how to find the determinant of a matrix من vector algebra؟
No.
No.
That was long time ago.
You are at a point in life الحين where you need to remember stuff. I know in school نحن كلنا, and I remember I was guilty of this as well. نعمل شيء، ندرس مادة، ندرس كورس، ندرس سنة دراسية كاملة، نسوي الامتحان النهائي، وبعدين تجي الإجازة الصيفية ومخنا يستوي له فورمات. انزين، وأعرف بعض من زملائي كانوا يروحوا يحرقوا الكتب. انزين. But unfortunately, we are at a point in life where we can no longer afford to do that. We need to retain the information that we know. And this is a key thing. When you, inshallah, graduate and go to the job market, you will learn things on the go. ما بس نتكلم عن الأشياء الأكاديمية الدراسية. كخبرة عملية، كخبرة في الشغل, you will learn things. And you will need to remember these as you go on. So, let's do a revision. And hopefully this time it sticks. You go x. You do أول شيء x بهالطريقة ay bz ناقص az by. Write that down before I go to the next slide. So, to repeat, to find the I component, I cross out this and I cross out of everything with I. So my I component is what? Is AYBZ minus AZBY. انزين. What about my J component? ايش اسوي الحين؟ How do I find my J component?
نفسها بس نسوي بدلها واي.
سوي لاين في النص ولاين في النص.
نفسها. انزين، واسوي نفس الاكس. يستوي لي AXBZ
minus BX
minus AZBX.
نستغل
طيب، لكن في شيء شوية غريب الحين. في شيء شوية غريب الحين.
لا لا صحيح دكتور كذا.
زين. الحين احنا سوينا شيء، لما اول شيء كنا ندور اي سوينا جي كروس كي، صحيح؟ الحين لما نحن شلينا هذا الوسطاني وسوينا هذا الاكس، ايش جالسين نسوي؟ نسوي اي
والكي
والكي. الحين اي والكي كيف؟ من يمين ليسار ولا من يسار ليمين؟
اليمين لليسار.
من يمين لليسار، اللي هو ايش؟
minus.
Minus. So you will see here we have a minus. طيب. والأخير نشطب الكي AXBY minus AYBX، والكي ايش يكون؟ بوزيتيف ولا نيجاتيف؟
بوزيتيف.
بوزيتيف. نحن جالسين نسوي I cross J، صحيح؟ فيكون الكي بوزيتيف. الحين اعتمادا على الكتاب اللي تشوفوا عليه، انزين، النتيجة راح تظهر لكم شوية بشكل مختلف. انزين. الحين اعتمادا على الكتاب اللي نستخدمه، النتيجة راح تظهر بشوية شكل مختلف. اما راح تظهر بلس I minus J plus K، او راح تطلع بلس I بلس J بلس K. إذا يسووها بلس J يقلبوا هذا الأوردر AZBX minus AXBZ. لكن أنا بالنسبة لي this is confusing. It is just easier in my opinion and I advise you to do this. بدل ما نحفظ 20 قانون you only need the IJK IJK IJK. سوي المصفوفة سويهم بالترتيب. And in my opinion forget about this. Okay, stick to the first one. You have a very simple rule, you are following it, you are getting this, and it is always x بهذه الطريقة. You don't need to flip anything. ايش رايكم؟
easy.
اسهل.
دكتور
ايوه.
can you repeat how we get minus j?
I will repeat how we got minus j. لأنه نحن لما عملنا الجي، نحن لما عملنا الجي شطبنا هذولا صح؟
صح.
احنا عملنا ax bz minus az bx، وعملنا I cross k.
ليش ما نعمل k cross i؟
لأن نحن جالسين نروح من اليسار إلى اليمين بالمصفوفة. We go from this to this. شوف في الأولانية رحنا j cross k حصلنا I. في الثانية رحنا I cross k حصلنا minus j. في الثالثة رحنا I cross j حصلنا k. اوكي. إذا رحنا الصوب الثاني k cross I ممكن، لكن بعدين لازم نقلب الاكس. بدل ما نعمل هذا سالب هذا نعمل هذا سالب هذا. فماي بوينت از بدل ما نحن نجي ونغير القانون في الوسط يكون عندنا 3 terms I J K، قانون I K يكون this minus this وقانون J يكون this minus this. It's confusing. Keep it this minus this and then instead of memorizing what is positive what is negative نطبق القانون مال يمين يسار يسار يمين I J K. Much simpler for me.
دكتور لو نحفظها أحسن أحس بلد الخبصة.
If you want to memorize go ahead.
دكتور شيء طريقة ثانية لكن ممكن نسويها.
ايش هي؟
نكتب مثلا السطر الأول والسطر الثاني نعيده في خانة ثانية. بعدين نسوي عملية كروس. كل ثلاثة أحرف مع بعض نكتبه كل 3 أحرف. يعني نسوي عملية كروس كل 3 ليترز يجي مع بعضهم بعض نكتبه. بتكون أبسط العملية عن كذا. ما أعرف كذا فاهم اللي كيف.
ما فهمت بس you can help me understand.
الحين أكتب السطر الأول والسطر الثاني في خانة ثانية. يعني
انزين خبرني ايش اكتب هنا.
الاي والاي والبي.
الاي
والاي
تحته ايه؟
ايوه اي اكس اللي هي
اوكي.
والبي
اوكي.
واللي بعد السطر الثاني نفس
أيوة.
بالضبط
مرة ثانية اي.
ايوه
زين. بعدين
عندنا نسوي عملية كروس نفس الشيء يعني A على Y
كذاك.
ايوه
انزين بس ليش عندي اي فوق؟
جي ما اي
جي اوكي. انزين
الحين نسوي عملية كروس يعني كل 3 ارقام مع بعض كل 3 لترز مع بعض.
كيف؟
يعني
خبرني.
يعني تو مثال الكي نبدأ مثال من السطر الثاني.
الحين نحن واصلين على الكي جالسين نسوي الكي ايش اسوي؟
الحين نبدأ من السطر الثاني الخانة الأولية.
اوكي.
وبنصير وعندك الاي زد عملية كروس.
tell me what to
لا ما كذاك ما كذاك ما انت ما فاهم اللي كيف.
اوكي tell me.
الحين الجي الخانة الثانية من الخانة هذه بدي الاي زد مع البي اكس.
من وين جاءت الاي زد؟
ترى نسوي عملية كروس هذا كذا اتوقع كذا كنا متعلمينها طريقة ما اعرف اذا كان.
لو نحن حتى الان ما كاتبين زد كاتبين اي اكس اي واي بي اكس بي واي اكتب الزد؟
لا شوف عندك الخانة الأولية ابدي من هذا الخانة الأولية ابدي من الجي بعدين تصير الاي زد، بعدين تصير بي اكس. يمكن ما فهمت دكتور.
Can you share your screen? I will stop sharing my screen.
كيف اسوي انا؟ ما فهمت.
ثواني خليني اسوي stop presenting. Okay, I stop presenting. Okay, can you share your screen? Show me what you're doing.
كيف يعني اسوي تو؟
اضغط على تحت present now واعمل البرزنتيشن.
يعني اكتب يعني الصورة ولا كيف؟ يعني اسوي بريوم، اسوي بريزنت، اسوي في الوورد ولا كيف؟
ايوه سويه في مايكروسوفت وورد او وايت بورد.
زي ما كانت منه انا.
اكتبه
ان شاء الله تو كتبه بس بسوي.
انزين.
من اخلصهم بسوي، من اخلصهم
أو روح بينت مثلا، سويه في البينت حتى مثلا، ممكن تسويه باصبعك او بالماوس عشان نفهم.
بس
يمكن في طريقه اسهل من طريقتي.
بسويهن وبخبرك.
انزين اوكي.
سوى برنامج الرسام احسن اسرع.
خبرني لما you want to share your screen.
دكتور لو سمحت.
ايوه
بعدني ما فهمت كيف جات إشارة السالب، مع إن إحنا نمشي من اليسار لليمين، فلازم تكون كلها موجب.
احنا حال الجي سوينا اي كروس كي صحيح؟
أيوة.
فاي كروس كي وين هنا؟ من اليسار لليمين ولا من اليمين لليسار؟
من اليمين لليسار.
يعني صارت سالب.
يس سالب. خلاص فهمت. شكرا دكتور.
ايوه انزين. Let's do a numerical example. ايضا sample problem 3.06 من الكتاب was very confusing for some people. So 3.07 sorry.
دكتور
ايوه
ما بتجيبوا ورقة من القوانين داخل الاختبار مثل ما خبرتنا اول؟
كيف؟
ورقة من القوانين.
موجود.
القوانين ده
القوانين كلها موجودة، لكن كيف استخدامها لازم تعرف كيف تستخدمها.
انت سووا لنا ذي فيه وخلاص.
ها؟
خلوا ذي فيه ضيفوا.
موجود فيها هذا، لكن السؤال هل تعرف تستخدمه؟
بندرب عليه ما مشكلة.
زين. المشكلة ما انها ما في وجود القوانين، المشكلة في انه هل نعرف نستخدم القوانين الموجودة او لا. يعني الحين لو انت عمرك ما مستخدم سيارة وانا جبت لك احسن سيارة في العالم وقلت لك خذ هذه هدية حالك. You will not be able to do. You will not be able to.
بقدار.
انزين اول شيء راحت في القدار. اوبس. انزين لازم تدريب علشان نعرف كيف نستخدم السيارة. بعدين بتقول لي جيب بدل سيارة 10 وبتفلسني. انا الغلطان اني مستخدم هذا المثال. انزين. Let's do this sample problem from the book. If A equals 3i minus 4j and B equals minus 2i plus 3k. نفس ال A وال B اللي قبل سوينا فيهم dot product، الحين نريد نسوي فيهم cross product. Okay? How do we do it? Let's do. First, I will do my matrix. I will write I, J, K. شكله حد من الجيران سمع اني اقول انا ابغى اعطيه هدايا سيارات وشغل الانذار مال سيارته، يقول شيمه ما تقرب سيارتي. انزين. Let's write it down. For A, here I will write 3 minus 4 and K is
0.
0. For B, I have minus 2. My J is 0. My K is 3. خلينا نبدأ. بسم الله. طيب. أول شيء نعمل الآي. آي. ليش أول شيء عملنا الآي؟ لأنه نعمل جي كروس كي. اي جي كي اي جي كي اي جي كي. تمام؟ جي كروس كي از بلس اي، فراح احط اي. ها؟
Where is zero? From where we did the zero?
Because there is no k component في أول واحد. فthe k component is zero.
Okay.
في ثاني واحد ما في j component، معناته ال j component is zero.
مستر
أيوة.
كيف عرفت ان هو مطلوب جي كروس كي؟
لأنه we crossed out I، فنحن we go like this j cross k. اوكي j cross k. الحين نعمل minus 4 times 3
minus
minus 0
0 times 0. طيب هذا خلصنا. الحين بمسح هذولا. وراح اروح على الجي وراح اسويه بلون مختلف. نشيل الجي. الحين نجي على اي كروس كي. ايش اي كروس كي؟
minus j.
ماينس جي. ماينس جي 3 times 3 ناقص
0
times minus 2. بمسح هذا بعد مرة. ليش ما اريد امسح هذاك. لا ما اريد امسح هذاك. اوكي ما جالس يخليني. خليني اعملها بهذه الطريقة. يمكن تبي يخليني ما راضي.
اكتب المعادلة مرة ثانية.
زين كان زين. I will use green for key. هذه كانت صفر. اوكي جينا على كي. احنا ويش اي كروس جي. اي كروس جي ايش؟
بوزيتيف بلس
بوزيتيف كي. زين 3 times 0 minus 4 times minus 2. زين الحين انتبهوا انا استخدمت اقواس. ليش؟ لانه هنا انا عندي minus 4 times minus 2 صار plus 8 وبعدين فيها minus. زين الحين ايش النتيجة؟ minus 4 times 3 is minus 12. عندي minus 12i. 3 times 3 is 9 فيصير عندي
9j
minus 9j. عندي minus هنا لا تنسى. بعدين عندي 3 times 0 is 0 minus 8k.
بلس.
كيف بلس؟
بلس بعدين ماينس.
ماينس 4 في الماينس.
ماينس 4 في ماينس 2 صار بلس 8 صح؟
ايوه.
بعدين كلها تضربها في ماينس. لذلك انا استخدمت الاقواس لانها مهمه جدا.
وخلاص this is our answer.
This is our answer.
سهل دكتور ما لازم شو اسمه.
زين this is our answer. minus 12i minus 9j minus 8k. ممكن واحد يجي يقول لي طيب نبسطها اكثر. ما ممكن نبسطها اكثر. This is a vector. I components j component k component. حدك تبغى تبسطها اكثر انزين تطلع الماجنتيود والانجل بس. ولانه 3 دي تطلع الانجل مزعج لانك لازم تطلع 2 انجلز فخليها بهذه الطريقه.
Okay, Mr. How can you find the angle between two vectors?
Okay, we do the cross product. We do.
الجواب غير عن الكتاب.
الجواب غير عن الكتاب. هل أنا نقلت شيء غلط؟ 3i minus 4j minus 2i plus 3k.
الجواب صح.
لا هو نفسه
نفسه
minus
دكتور.
12i minus 9j minus 8k. روح على الصفحة اللي بعدها.
ايوه.
زين. الحين في حد سألني you want to find the angle between two هذا
Two vectors.
between two vectors. You can use the dot product or the cross product.
How?
انزين. الحين مثلا لو تقول لي find the angle between this C and A مثلا. Okay. I will go back and do this what we did before. The dot product هنا. What we did. I will find the magnitude of A and the magnitude of C وراح اعمل A dot C واطلع الكوساين انفرس عشان اطلع الثيتا.
نفس الخطوات بس الأرقام يختلفون.
نفس الخطوات بس الارقام تختلف. راح اعمل A dot C يساوي magnitude A magnitude C كوساين ثيتا، بالتالي ثيتا يساوي كوساين انفرس magnitude سوري A dot C على mag A mag C. انتهى.
When we try to find the magnitude, we just ignore k, right?
No, you take so if you want to find the magnitude of C,
yes.
Okay, what you need to do is you need to do minus 12 squared plus minus 9 squared plus minus 8 squared all square rooted.
Okay.
So you take the square of all the components, add them up, and then take the square root.
Okay.
Tamam? Okay. It's a bit of a headache, the cross product, and these products, but do the homework problems, you will get used to it. Okay. So now we have about 15 more minutes left. I will start going to chapter 4. Some of you might be thinking طيب عملنا الجمع وعملنا الطرح وعملنا الضرب كأننا نسينا شيء.
القسمة.
كأننا نسينا القسمة. ايش رايكم؟ هل نحن نسينا القسمة؟
العكس الثاني بيستوي مثل الضرب.
No.
Say that again. Can you say that again?
نعكس الطرف الثاني يصبح مثل يعني قسم عكس الضرب.
Okay.
It's the inverse of multiplication.
It's the inverse of multiplication.
نعكس الثاني ونضربه.
ممكن. One second. So, for vectors, there's a problem, okay? Because As we saw when we were multiplying two vectors, we already have two definitions of multiplication. One is a dot product, the other one is a vector product. Now the question is, when I come to divide the two vectors, what am I getting? Is it another vector?
No, scalars every time.
Is it a scalar every time? What is the definition of dividing a vector by another vector? Turns out there is no really a definition of division of vectors. Okay, turns out in mathematics, the division of a vector by another vector is really not defined. So it's not that we are forgetting to do it, it's that there is no division of vector. The closest thing we have to division by vector is to multiply by, for example, 1 over the vector, the inverse. Some of you have already mentioned that. In some cases, that is possible. You take the inverse of a matrix or the inverse of a vector, and then you do it. Okay, but then it becomes quickly complicated, and we leave that for mathematics courses, as we don't have a practical use for it in this course. We are not going to approach that. So let's move on to some chapter 4 things, and we have about 10-15 minutes left in this lecture. بس هذا خفيف وسريع خفايف. If you remember in chapter 2, we spoke about speed, velocity, displacement, acceleration, instantaneous acceleration, average acceleration, instantaneous velocity, average velocity. تتذكروا كل صدات الراس هذه كلها؟ We defined all of them. We never used them. So let's actually use them. Position. Let's look at it instead of just a number. نحن هناك كنا we were just dealing with numbers because we were looking at a number line. But now let's look at it in real space, 2 and 3 dimensional space. Okay. If I have my position in an XYZ plane, okay, how do I describe my position?
With X and Y and Z.
X and Y and Z. Or what we were doing now, I, J, K. With a vector, صح? I am in a position in space في مكان ما. I am كذا بعيد عن ال I, كذا بعيد عن ال J, كذا بعيد عن ال K. Or from the X, Y, Z. Simple enough?
Yes.
Okay. So a position vector locates a particle in space. It extends from some reference point, usually the origin, 0, 0, 0, all the way to where the thing is. Example, position vector -3, 2, 5. So that means I am -3 meters from the I-axis, plus 2 meters from the J point, and plus 5 meters from the K point. Okay, very simple. No complication. So how do we define displacement? If I go from point 1 to point 2, from R1 to R2, how do I define my displacement?
R2 minus R1.
R2 minus R1.
Delta R.
صحيح؟ Delta R. Change in position vector is a displacement. صحيح؟ R2 minus R1. How do we do R2 minus R1? هذا هو سبب صدعة الراس كلها اللي سويناها في chapter 3. طيب لأنه كنا جالسين نعمل one vector minus another vector. So we do vector R2 minus vector R1. فكرة جيدة؟
Yeah.
الحمد لله. طيب.
لا يرحمك الله.
delta r is r2 minus r1. حرفيا نعمل x2 minus x1 y2 minus y1 z2 minus z1. يرحمنا ويرحمكم. I j k. في حد عنده مشكلة مع هذا حتى الآن؟
No.
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 Very simple. جميل. What about velocity? نحن عملنا v equals delta x على delta t صحيح؟
Yes.
Okay. لما نريد نعملها في 3 dimension نعمله دلتا ار على دلتا تي. ايش رايكم؟
اوكي.
صح؟
صح. يبقى
دلتا ار على دلتا تي. اعمله دلتا اكس على دلتا تي، دلتا واي على دلتا دي، دلتا زد على دلتا تي. Which makes sense. Velocity is a vector or not a vector?
Vector.
Velocity by definition قلنا الفرق ما بين velocity و speed انه السبيد ما عنده direction, so it's a scalar, just a number صحيح؟ بينما velocity has a direction. And this makes absolute sense. I can give the velocity in each direction separately, just like a vector. Or I can combine them and give it with an angle, and it's still the same thing. صحيح؟
Again, Victor.
Sorry?
Again, please.
So when we were dealing with just the x-axis, we said v equals delta x over delta t. صحيح؟
ايوه صحيح.
اوكي الحين صرنا 3 dimension. انزين بما انه عملنا انزين بما انه نحن الحين عملنا بما انه نحن الحين عملنا 3D انزين صار عندنا دلتا اكس دلتا واي دلتا زد. اقسم كل واحد فيهم على الدلتا تي. هل في طريقة ثانية أنه I express this velocity instead of vi, vx, vz? So what is this equal to? This is basically me saying vx in the I direction plus vy in the j direction plus vz in the k direction. صحيح?
Yes.
Okay. Is there another way I can express this?
القيمة والاتجاه.
Yep. I can say my v is equal to, sorry, my mod of my v is equal to vx squared plus vy squared plus vz squared. And this is the same as speed لأنه it gives me the number without the direction. And then I can give my angle. I can find my angles. Oops. I can find my angles and put them in. Okay. Now in X, Y, Z, it's a bit difficult, but we are going to do problems where we're only dealing with X and Y. Okay. We're going to do problems where we're only dealing with X and Y. Yeah.
اوكي.
لا انا في محاضرة اكلمكم بعد شوية. يلا. Okay. So now a couple of PIQs which I would actually really like to do. It's 118. So I am actually going to stop here because I want to do the rest properly, not in a rush. So we will stop here today. Okay. And we will continue, inshallah, in the next lecture with the rest of, and we will continue with chapter 4. Now, before we finish this lecture today, I want to ask you one question. When we're doing with X and Y, we give the magnitude and angle theta. If I have a 3-dimensional system, X, Y, Z, how many angles do I need to give?
2.
I need to give 2 angles, theta and phi, or actually to make it look clearer, let me use theta and alpha. Why?
It's 3D.
Because it is 3D. So if this is my XY plane, I will have my x-axis and my y-axis, right? Now, when I give my angle theta, I say, for example, 40 degrees. Okay, this is 40 degrees. But anywhere in the circle that I am going, it is still 30 degrees. But I still haven't decided exactly where my vector is. So I need to give another angle. لا مش فقط أنه 30 degrees from the x-axis. It is also كذا degrees from the y-axis or from the z-axis. So I fix it in one time, in one place in 3D, not in a full circle. Okay.
Okay, Doctor.
So that is that for today's lecture.
دكتور إذا باغني ده مع المصفوفات عاد خلصنا.
Okay.